What's up, y'all? Welcome back to a brand new video. In this one, I'm going to be reviewing and rating the top 10 favorite movies of my cousin-in-law. We'll just keep it simple in that. Abby Thomas, she is my wife, Destiny. It is her mom's cousin's daughter, but they're as close as cousins. They're like best friends, and so we'll just say my cousin Abby. This is episode 18 of a series where I review other people's top 10 favorite movies. So today we're going to do Abby's, and then our next video, I'm going to record it right after this, we will be reviewing the top 10 favorite movies of Blake Thomas, Abby's husband. So stay tuned for that. Now, before we get into the list, there's one honorable mention that I would like to honorably mention, and it is actually the film The Patriot. And Abby had put this or another film that's later, it's actually the last one that I'll talk about on the list, she had put one or The Patriot, and so I just decided whichever one's going to get a higher rating, that'll make the list, and whichever one doesn't will be the honorable mention. The Patriot was a good film. I enjoyed it a lot, but the other one beat it out by like half a point, so I'm going to just make The Patriot an honorable mention here. Now, let's get into some movies that have previously appeared that I've previously reviewed. There are going to be two films that have appeared on other lists, and the first one is How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, which appears on Destiny's list, as well as Mia Major's list, which is the last video. It's really one of the best rom-coms that there is. Matthew McConaughey, he turns his charm up from the usual 10 that it's on up to like a 12, maybe 13. Kate Hudson is fantastic in this film. She's a great female rom-com lead. The two have great chemistry with each other, which is huge. That's crucial to a rom-com. And the other thing that's crucial to a rom-com is the setup. The setup is brilliantly done. The payoff at the end is perfect. It's just a really, really well-made movie that I would give a 9 out of 10. Next up is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I don't know why my voice is cracking, like I'm going through puberty again. And that was on my brother Sawyer's list. Now, it's actually not my personal favorite of the Harry Potter films, but any Harry Potter movie is going to be better than like most movies in my book. Like, it's going to get a higher score just because I love Harry Potter. It is my favorite movie franchise. This one opens up the story to like the wider wizarding world. It goes beyond just Hogwarts. We meet, wizards from other countries and learn so much about the world. And then it also really transitions, and the same thing in the book series. It transitioned the story from more childlike and to like much more. I'm not going to say adult, but serious and grim. It goes from, in the books especially, but also in the movies, this is the one where it transitions from Harry's biggest fear being, oh no, what if I get expelled, to now it's like there's a realistic chance he's just going to like die at the end of everyone. And that's the main threat. That's the imminent feeling of doom. But this is a really well-made movie. It has a much different tone than the rest of the movies because this was at the point where they were still going through different filmmakers before David Yates just made the last four. But I still think this is a really well-made film. 9.5 out of 10. Next up, we have Mamma Mia. So Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, appears on Destiny's list. And I actually prefer the second one just because I think the young cast in that one is so fun. But the first is still really strong. Really well-made musical. The cast does a great job taking on these songs, especially, and I don't mean this in a negative way, it is a negative thing, but I'm not trying to be mean, is what I'm trying to say. They're really not the best singers ever, most of the people in the cast, they're good for people that are actors. Amanda Seyfried is great, but everyone else is just like good for people that aren't singers. But they have so much fun, and you can just tell throughout the whole film, every single performer is having so much fun that it just bleeds into their performance in the best way. I think this is Meryl Streep's most fun role. Amanda Seyfried is great. Like I said, the three dads, Stellan Skarsgård, Pierce Brosnan, and Colin Firth are all really good. They all thrive in this film. 9 out of 10, so we're off to a great start here. Next up, The Greatest Showman, another musical. This is actually, I think, my favorite movie musical. Maybe Wicked now, if I'm being completely honest, but The Greatest Showman is still up there. Every single song, fantastic. Hugh Jackman, he's really good, great, obviously, as Wolverine, but he just belongs in roles like this, where he can just go out and dance and sing and have a good time. Zac Efron, his Kenny Ortega High School Musical training boot camp transitions really well to the world of movie musicals outside of Disney Channel. Zendaya is a welcome addition to any film, even though I feel like she's featured fairly not a ton in this movie. The dance numbers, though, are all great. The songs are all great. Like I said, my favorite is The Other Side, the one with Hugh Jackman and Zac Efron in the bar. But every song is great. My favorite thing about this film is I have a young friend by the name of Cy. I reviewed his dad, Mr. Craig's movies a while back. Cy, I think he was, I don't know, maybe 6 at the time, and he watched this movie, and he was just utterly shocked and amazed by it. And then afterwards, he asked Destiny and I, he goes, "Did you guys know that Zac Efron is a real person?" And I think I get the same effect, honestly, watching this movie. I'm just shocked that he's a real person. All that to say, 10 out of 10. I love The Greatest Showman. Next up, we have Four Feathers. Now, I'm going to be honest. This is such a random movie to be in someone's top 10 favorites, but I really respect it. Like, I love the ones that are just, like, random, weird. Some, like this, I don't even know if I don't think I had heard of this movie before I was putting together this list, and I just love that. This is really why I'm doing this, is so I can reach movies that I haven't seen before. Heath Ledger does really well. It's a war drama set in the late 19th century. It follows a man who's accused of cowardice, and so he's trying to prove that he's not a coward, and he's given these 4 feathers, and he's trying to return them to the people that gave them to him. But also features Wes Bentley, Kate Hudson, Michael Sheen, Jimon Hounsou, who is just always such a great supporting actor in every film that he's in. Like, he's just brilliant in every movie he's in. This movie was a little slow at times for me, and I did find myself not getting bored, but it was losing my attention a little bit, so I'm only going to give it a 6 out of 10, but I did enjoy, and I'm glad that I watched it because Heath Ledger is really good in it. Next up, we have She's the Man, which is just one of the defining 2000s rom-coms. I actually hadn't seen this, though, until I watched it for this list. Amanda Bynes is comedy gold in this film. That it's actually aged like pretty well for a movie that's about a girl pretending to be a boy, and just all the jokes and different things that you would think maybe not today in 2025, 2024, whatever. But it ages really well. It still works, I think. Like I said, Amanda Bynes is really funny in this, and Abby and Amanda Bynes kind of gave me the same vibes, which I think I told her, so sorry about that. Channing Tatum is a good love interest, but honestly, Amanda Bynes just absolutely carries this movie. She's so good in it. The ending's a little cheesy, but like, duh. Like, it works. It's a teen rom-com. Like, it's going to have a cheesy ending, but it's really funny. 8 out of 10. Next up, we have The Count of Monte Cristo. So, I didn't, and this is the version, I don't remember, it's from the early 2000s. I didn't ask. Surely the reason that Abby saw this movie, she probably watched it in school, I would presume. And then it was after reading the book, just because I feel like that's when you would have watched this movie. I read The Count of Monte Cristo in high school. We were not fortunate enough to watch the movie because that would have been too fun. But Jim Caviezel, he works really great in the lead role of Edmond Dantes. This is a great story to be adapted. There's a 2024 version, a French version, I think it's French or Italian, that I really want to watch, but that's neither here nor there. The supporting cast is also just absolutely stacked. You have Guy Pearce, Richard Harris, James Frain, Luis Guzman, and a very young Henry Cavill. They all slide very seamlessly into their roles. I know the story. I mean, this story was modified a little bit, specifically the ending from the book to a movie, but I think it worked for the movie, and that's not going to necessarily lose points for me because it's not a faithful adaptation. I think it's still really well made, and I will give it a 7.5 out of 10. Next up, we have Four Christmases, which is one of my favorite Christmas movies that my wife and I rewatch annually. It's an absolutely stacked ensemble cast, obviously led by Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon, but I didn't write this down. I'm going to try to go off my dome here. We have I'm already messing up, Robert Duvall, Sissy Spacek, Mary Steenburgen, Christopher Walken, Kristen Chenoweth, Jon Favreau, Tim McGraw, Dwight Yoakam is in this movie. There's other people that I'm forgetting, but I think that's most of them. And there's so many funny lines uttered by every character. My personal favorite is Google me, bleep, cuss word. You might want to look me up sometime, Barbara. My wife and I quote that constantly. Google me. You might want to look me up sometime, Barbara. We quote that line constantly. I think it's hilarious. The families are both really well cast. Reese Witherspoon has great chemistry with everyone that she shares the screen with. And I don't just mean in this movie, I mean in everything. And this, like, I don't know if there's an actor that had a better run in comedy movies than 2000's Vince Vaughn. It's just like everything he's in was a hit. So that should just reaffirm to you how funny this movie is. And I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Father of the Bride, which is a little sneak peek for you. This film also appears on Blake's list in the next episode, so you can hear some more thoughts about it then. I actually hadn't seen this movie, but I now think that it's one of the best, like, this isn't a genre of movie, but topic of movie, of wedding movies. I think it's one of the best. Steve Martin, I love it when an actor, especially a comedic actor in a comedy movie, is mainly where this applies, is kind of just able to go out, do their thing, bring their brand of humor, just make their jokes, and I think that's what happens in this movie. The supporting cast all complement the film really well, especially Diane Keaton, and I want to specifically shout out Steve Martin's partner in crime, Martin Short, who's so like out there and strange in this movie, but is absolutely hilarious, works really well. Good film, 8 out of 10. Now, last but not least here, we have the film that made it in over the Patriot, Hacksaw Ridge. It got a slightly higher score. Now, one features Mel Gibson. The Patriot is the main character. This one is made by Mel Gibson. And Andrew Garfield he is the main reason that this movie ranked so high. I would say this is one of his career performances, which is just huge because every one of his performances is brilliant because he's one of the best actors working right now. The film is very effective in its storytelling. It has really good pacing, which is crucial to me in a war film because war films, to me, if they get too slow, I'll lose interest in them. This one's well paced. The film is it's about a person, Desmond Doss, who he's a figure very worthy of a biopic. I say biopic, but I feel like I should start saying biopic because it does make more sense linguistically. But so I'm glad this film does his story, puts his story in the spotlight and hopefully does it justice. And I am going to give it an 8.5 out of 10, which brings our total to an 83.5 out of 10, which I think puts Abby in 7th place, right behind, or tied for 7th place, right behind my mom and Sawyer, who have 84. And she's tied with two of my friends, Hayden and Edmund, who both also scored 83.5s. So that's pretty good, though, out of 19 or 18, because Blake's episode will be the next one. That'll be episode 19. This episode 18. She's in the top half, so that's pretty good. And that's an 8.4 almost average, which I think is pretty solid. So, Abby, thank you so much for putting together this list. Thank you, watcher, so much, viewer, watcher, person watching this. Thank you so much for watching it. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the next episode, which is going to be Blake's top 10 favorite movies. And stay tuned for more videos coming soon. I have a few random videos that are going to be coming out. And then, we're getting in the home stretch now in Oscar season. So stay tuned for my Oscar predictions because I'm checking those Oscar movies off as we speak. So thanks so much for watching. Have a wonderful evening, day, morning, whenever you're watching this. Peace.